John's got a story for us, UFO encounters and sightings. And, John, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and where you grew up?
So my name is Jon Hobbins. I grew up in Southern Maine pretty much my whole life. I mean, I moved to Boston for college for about 6 years. I have a degree in architectural engineering from Wentworth in Boston. I went back to Maine. That's where my family is. That's where my roots are. So yeah, from Maine, 38 years old. I live alone with my three dogs. I like it a lot. My peace is something, the older I get, the more I don't mind being alone, because I'm actually like okay with being by myself. And that's not a bad thing. That ever since I was very young, I loved playing with Legos, building stuff. I loved the outdoors. I loved outer space. I loved astronauts. I loved to look up at the stars. I always thought it was so crazy that the daytime the sky was so bright and blue, but once the sun went down and there was no clouds, you would look up and see these stars, and I was like, where did they go during the day? And it was all just so fascinating to me. And then when I was starting to like actually understand stuff, I realized that like the closest star to Earth is the sun. And like, and then I just started making sense of like what outer space really is in a grander scheme, and then started to learn other things like, how many billions of galaxies there are, and just all these different concepts, black holes, UFOs, just our own moon. There's even different ideas of what our own moon could be. Is it rock? Is it hollow? Well, just all these things. And I just find it so fascinating. And I just always find myself looking up. I don't know. And I always have been this way for my whole life. And in doing so, I think a part of it, I was always at nighttime, at least, I'd be searching for shooting stars. I always wanted, when I was younger, I was, make a wish on a shooting star. So I would just always stare up, just waiting literally for hours. And that's really how it started. My best friend in high school, his name's Steve, we would go on my parents' property, which was right on the Saco River, and there's this peninsula where my folks' house is. So there's no like light pollution. It's so beautiful. So when you see the stars, and you can see it in like a 270-degree panoramic, and it's just absolutely breathtaking. But if there's a good clear night, man, you can see satellites, you can see all types of shit. And that was when I had my first real sighting, because we knew we were watching satellites. And then all of a sudden we thought we were looking at more satellites, but they started zigging and zagging, not going in a straight line. The 99 out of 100 that we've seen before have been going in straight lines. And all of a sudden we see this different one. It's appearing and disappearing and doing these crazy angles. And I'm like, bro, like, I think we're seeing like potentially a UFO right now. He's like, dude, that's exactly what I was just thinking. I didn't want to say it first. And I was like, holy fuck. And then it just became pretty normal that sometimes I would look up at night and see that type of shit going on. And I would just store it in the back of my head. The next big thing in the timeline, I have like 3 or 4, was in the summer of 2016. I was out in my parents' yard having a cigarette, and I was looking up at the stars like I always do. I love looking at the constellations and everything. I love looking for the Big Dipper. But what I saw, I've never really heard anyone say or repeat. Something like in my head was like, look over here. referring to a point in the night sky. And then suddenly there was a shooting star going across the sky, right? And I'm used to seeing them trail off, but this one soared across the sky and then stopped. And you could see it just like a star was right there. However, all of a sudden, from a completely different angle, another shooting star came out and stopped, like what would look like almost like an inch in front of me, but looked close to each other. So there was like two shooting stars from opposite sides of the sky that met in the air. I thought I was seeing like something crazy, right? All of a sudden, the first one made a flash, and there was like this weird looking explosion. And then the second one made a bigger flash and towards the other one, and the other one exploded. And then the other one shot off like a shooting star, but in a different angle. And I was like, I can remember thinking, like, did anyone else just witness what I witnessed? Like, did I just see like real life Star Wars? Like, I don't even, it sounds crazy for me to hear myself say, because I've never, other than several close people of my friends, I've never said this to anyone else ever, because it sounds so crazy. But I was sober, I was smoking a cigarette, and it was just crazy. All right, I think I mentioned, Dustin, this to you maybe in the fall of 2021, I believe around in September. Right behind my house where I live, there's a big field. It does kind of suck because there is some light pollution, but if you get a good clear night, you can see some pretty good stars, and you get basically 360 degrees, but pretty decent stars, to look at. However, I'm used to seeing the Big Dipper look a certain way all through the year. It's moving around the earth, at different angles. In my brain, I recognize these angles in their relationship to other stars and everything. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at the Big Dipper, and is there 6 stars in the Big Dipper? So I'm looking at it, and there's an extra star in so you have the handle and then the pot, right? There was a star right in the middle of the pot. And I look at it and I'm thinking, my brain was like, no, that's not how it normally looks, right? And then that star that wasn't supposed to be there just dropped down, just straight down, and then disappeared. I was like, what the fuck? And I think I reached out to a couple people that I follow on Instagram, because I felt like I had to just say it to someone. I don't know. It was weird. And then another time that it's like, I almost feel uncomfortable saying, but it's like, I woke up. I believe it was this past summer. I believe in August. Something woke me up, and I walked out of my bedroom, and everything was the brightest white that I've ever seen, right? In my brain. And so all these memories, it's like very impactful for me. It's like these core memories. It's like I can even remember almost the thinking that I was going through. And it was like, I see this bright light and I'm expecting to hear thunder or something because it was that bright, right? But the brightness didn't go away for like 2-3 Mississippis. And I'm talking like, I had to like cover my eyes and squint. And like, I looked out the window and I couldn't see any. It was like, I didn't know if I was like sleepwalking or something. But and the only reason why I'm telling you this is because I've read or seen other people that have these type of really white light experiences. However, the ones that I've read or seen, it seems like most of them have a loss of time they can't come up with. Unfortunately, I didn't check the time, but there's one thing. I sleep with 3 dogs, and typically anytime I get up from my bed, one of the 3 dogs is going to do something. I don't remember seeing the dogs. In this bright white light. It even came through my bedroom because I swear to God, that's how it woke me up because it was so bright. It was like staring straight into the sun or something. It was the craziest thing. It, oh, man. And then the very last one, this past fall, it was around October. I was playing with my dog outside. Like always, I'm always looking up at things, what's it going to be? It might be a plane, it might be a single engine Cessna, or it might be a commercial liner. And, you see the chemtrails or whatever, the patterns in the sky. And so I throw the ball for the dog, and then I'm looking up at the sky, lo and behold, I start to notice what direction these planes are following these patterns. They're going south, parallel to the coastline. It looks like, and there's also an airport in Biddeford, a smaller one, and then there's like another jet port in Portland. But anyways, so I saw a couple planes go by. One was like a single engine, and then the other one was like a regular commercial liner. And then all of a sudden, there was something in the sky that was like circular, and it looked like it was made out of copper or something, because it was like bright orangish yellow. And I was like, wait, is that the sun? And then like once again, my brain was like, no, John, that's like the size of it was so small. And I looked over in the sun, I could see the sun. The sun was like about to set. You could look and see it, physically see the sun. And then I looked back over about 30 degrees higher in the sky, and it was still there. And it was just like, it wasn't like traveling or moving far away from me or coming closer. It was just like in the sky. And then I was like, wait a second, I don't know, like maybe one of these planes or whatever that I've just seen, maybe like the sun is hitting it at an angle. But literally it was there for like seconds, like a minute, 2 minutes, like just sitting there. And then all of a sudden, this was the weird part, it like changed its angle in the air, and it became like a kind of like what they described, almost like not a tic tac, but like a cigar shape. And it was still all bright copper, really bright orangish yellow copper. And it did that for a second. It looked like a cigar or elongated tic tac, whatever. And then it straightened back out, and then all I could see was that circle again. And then it started. It was so hard to describe. It sounded like it was like skipping through the air, but like only if you're seeing it as a two-dimensional object, just getting further and further away from you, but you're standing in one spot. And then it just like right before it disappeared, it was like just like one little sparkle, just like sparkled like I don't know, it was so weird. And then it just like disappeared. And that's all I got right now.
That's pretty interesting. So you think
Yeah.
there's some kind of connection between your sightings and maybe this bright light that you experienced in your house?
I don't know, man. I, I mean, probably at some level, you know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I want to recommend you trying this. I've tried this in my backyard, and I've been having nothing but success with catching this. So we interviewed a guy that kind of coined this term called the invisible highway. And it's kind of weird that you think more people would think about this idea of taking your camera and putting it in slow motion and just film the sky for like 30 seconds. And you'd be surprised what the fuck you catch on there. Like I've caught balls zigzagging, coming in and out, slowing down, speeding up. Yeah. So I was trying to edit some of these to show, and I still can't share it on here, but maybe I could actually send you, Daniel, these videos, and you can actually play them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's very interesting. So yeah, I recommend, if you're having so much luck, it seems like I'd go outside and just with your slow motion camera, for 30 seconds or a minute. And within like, if you're filming a minute, it's like 5 minutes long in slow motion. So like you sit
Right.
there and it's kind of, you have to kind of scan through the video and through the clouds. Actually, the cloudy days are the best days to do it, according to this guy who coined the word
Yeah.
the invisible highway.
You sent me his link. That's so funny. I forget what
Okay.
his Instagram is, but yeah, I follow him now because you told me about this.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's his Instagram is the invisible highway. So yeah, just type that
Right.
in. If anybody wants to search for it, I definitely recommend checking his work out. And it does. Every time I've done it, I've caught multiple things. So
Yeah, and I was lucky too. I tried it out and I was lucky too.
yeah.
But John,
Really?
yeah, I did it too, and I not on every one that I took, every video that I took, but I took one and I showed it to Dustin also, and I saw something strange that I can explain. Not saying UFO, but it was strange, and
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. But John, were in any of these encounters, were there any sounds involved? Strange sounds? Did you hear anything?
No, not that I can remember. No.
sounds.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what that light situation was. Like coming waking up from the light.
It was the most powerful, brightest light I've. It literally. I watch anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
It looked like when animes like show like Akira, right? Like a huge atomic
favorite movie.
blast of light. You know what I mean? That flash. I was like, are we getting nuked by the Russians? You know what I mean? But I'm like half asleep, like wiping my eyes. I'm like, what the heck? And I just want to go back to sleep. You know, I'm like, but it was such a strong memory that even when I woke up, I remembered it. But I didn't. I remember strongly thinking, was I sleepwalking or was it real? Because if it was real, that's even scarier. Because what I saw was something I've never read in a book. It's never been described to me in science. What I saw was crazy. It was nuts. There was no colors. Everything was just black or white. It was just, it was scary, to be honest.
And you were the only one that saw it. All these encounters.
No, the first one when I saw the satellites and then like the ping pong action, that was with my best friend Steve.
Sometimes I think, and I heard more about from people that see UFOs a lot. There's certain people that have many encounters, others don't, others never. I'm thinking maybe people who have a lot of encounters are chosen.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I'm very open to it, and kind of like what I was kind of mentioning about just when I realized how big the universe really is, you know, and how many different planets and galaxies there are, right? Billions and billions, and the possibility of there's like a possibility of billions of the planets holding a potential for life, right? And then you add on top of like other galaxies that have been around for, you know, billions of years before ours, and that's where people start to think like, okay, well, if there is this other race, you know, and they've had all this time, you know, maybe they are that much ahead of us. Or you can go even deeper down the rabbit hole, and then, you know, there could be this potential race of aliens that lives inside the core of the earth, you know, that they come and go as, you know, through the ocean, or, you know, through volcanoes and through Antarctica or whatever the case, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think the potential for something else, I think it'd be a lot, you know, whatever that quote is, I completely agree. Like, be way more scarier if we were the only ones. I think it's less scary if, you know, if there's other ETs or, you know, whatever out there. I mean, that makes way more sense. That'd be just too weird if we were the only, you know, that doesn't make sense to me, to be honest. So
Agreed.